how do you discover and then live your purpose? That's what we're talking about today on Set to Love with guest Jenni Reher.
You can live a life in flow where your deepest heart's desires become reality.
You are here to contribute through your essence, fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on.
Take what works, ditch the rest, and always stay set to love.
Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go.
Yay! Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Jenni. It is so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited. I love talking about purpose and finding your purpose. So you are a life purpose coach. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, I help people, mostly introverts, who are searching for their purpose.
Awesome. And tell us how you even became this. Where did you come from and how did you stumble into becoming this life purpose coach? Or maybe you didn't stumble into it. Maybe it was always your purpose.
Oh yeah, probably so, but my journey, I think, is really similar to a lot of people. I was lost. And I started out my career in marketing, and I always felt like I didn't fit in. I always felt like I was an introvert and everybody else was extroverted. It was a really competitive environment, and I'm not competitive. And I just felt like maybe something was wrong with me because I didn't fit in and I didn't enjoy it. But I felt like I had to stay in marketing. I just felt like I had to because I was kind of put into a box, and I kind of felt like I had to do something like our parents did, you work at a job forever and then you end up retiring. And so I felt like that was kind of my path, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
I kind of feel, though, before you even go into how people can find their way, do you think one of the first signs of finding your purpose might be to follow what brings you joy instead of going into something that somebody else either thinks you should or going against what, like you're saying, you're an introvert and sales is really an extrovert? Like, maybe do you find that in your finding your purpose that you need to really follow who you are?
Yeah, I believe that your purpose is your personality. So if you're doing something that is against your personality, like with my example, being in marketing, but being an introvert, you're not going to be happy. But it's not your fault. It's just who you are. And you need to do something that honors who you are as a person.
So I love that you told us right before we started here that you started a vegan donut company and that you found so much joy in doing that and did that for several years before you sold it. Yep. Why that? How did you know well, that's my thing, or this is what I'm going to go bring into the world?
It was more of a passion. I was vegan and I wanted to just share. I just came up with this idea and I wanted to share my donuts with the world. I did a lot of research on Google and I found out that vegan donuts were really popular in places like New York and LA and San Francisco. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to be the one to bring vegan donuts to Northern Colorado. And so with zero experience, no baking experience whatsoever, except for baking for friends and family, I decided that this was going to be my thing. I was just super passionate about it. I just felt so strongly about it that I knew that it was going to be successful.
And it was that hard for you though to step into at first? Were you like, okay, I'm going to start this company. I know nothing about what I'm doing, but I'm just going to follow my joy, as Shelley said. And I love that everything is Googleable, that you can you can teach yourself how to do whatever.
You can. And I think that's so important because a lot of people get stuck in the how, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't know how. But my thing is just Google is your friend and you can Google anything. You can figure out when I started out, I didn't even know how to I mean, I never had my own business. So I not only didn't know how to bake vegan donuts, I also had never had my own business. I didn't know how to do a farmer's market. Like, I didn't know anything. And Google, I mean, it was everything. That's how I learned everything. And of course you learn by doing, but you know, you can learn anything online. So that's how
But
I started.
I still see it even in your face as you're telling us the story about how much joy and happiness that job brought you to have that business. And
Yeah.
so really probably researching it because that's really what you wanted isn't difficult because you're interested in what you're doing. And that's what I think people really need to see is that if you do something that you're really passionate about and really excited about, all the learning, all the lessons, it's really not a hard thing to do. I mean, yes, it can be challenging, but when you really want to do it, you want to do it.
Yeah, it's so true. But I think it's really important to know the difference between the passion and the purpose. Because if you're really passionate about it, that's one thing. But being a donut maker wasn't necessarily my purpose. And so I burned out doing that. Times when you do something that you're really, really passionate about, sometimes that wanes and comes and goes. And you're not meant to do your passion, just one passion forever. You're meant to have a whole bunch of different passions, but you only have one purpose.
Wow, that's very interesting. I like that.
Me
Yeah.
too. Okay. So a lot of people have difficulties transitioning. You know, they do something for a while, especially like an entrepreneur when you build something from scratch. So for you to be able to have the courage to say, okay, I did this. I loved it. I learned so much. I'm ready to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, you're going to sell your company and you're going to go stare at the wall and figure out what the next thing is for you. What was that transition like? And what advice would you have for people who are in that place right now? They're doing something that they're like, I'm at the edge. Like, I know this is, I'm ready to be done with this and move on to something else, but they don't know what that thing is.
Yeah, that's such a good question. When I was really burned out in my donut business, I was kind of at an impasse and I was talking to one of my wholesale partners. And he just through a series of conversations ended up buying the business from me. And it still exists today, which is really great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But after I sold it, I was like, what am I going to do? Is this it? Is that are donuts my legacy, right? And I always felt like I was made for something more, but even more so, I was like, I can't, this isn't it. I can't just end, right? And I think a lot of people find themselves in that position, like you're in a dead end job or you're doing something for a long time and you're just wondering like, is this it? And so there are several ways that you can find your purpose and we can go over those if you would like.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Let's do it.
All right. So, like I said, there's tons of ways to find your purpose. I found mine through staring up at the ceiling at night and asking the universe what it was. And literally it came to me. But some people have done that and it's not as successful. So, because maybe you're not in that place. You're not ready to receive what the universe is telling you. So the first way, I really believe, like I said, that your purpose is part of your personality. And so I really believe that it's a good idea to take a personality test. I'm a huge believer in the Myers-Briggs, but it's very confusing. If you've ever taken the Myers-Briggs in the past, it's it's hard to understand. And you're like, I'm an introvert, but what does that mean? Oh, I'm, a judger, but what does that mean? And so it's just like, you just don't feel very good about it. So I recommend 16personalities.com, which is so awesome because it is just really a great test. It's really fast. It's really easy to take. And you can find your purpose in a lot of cases right on the test. But it'll tell you what kind of a person you are. It'll tell you how you perform in your career, what things you excel in, and that kind of thing. And it's really easy to understand. And like I said, in a lot of cases, you can find out exactly what your purpose is right there. It'll tell you right there. It's a free test. So, there's really
fantastic.
Have you done Strength Finders? Have you looked at that one before?
I have not.
Oh, you would love it. Look it up. It's
Okay.
called Strength Finders, and it's through oh my gosh, who are the people in the Midwest that do all the surveys? Gallup. So the people of Gallup are the ones who created it. And because they like survey so many people, it's phenomenal. It'll tell you your 5 top strengths. So that way you can, whatever your purpose is, you're going to know like where your strengths are within finding that purpose. But anyway, a little side note. Okay. So we go and take this personality test. So now I've got my personality. What's next?
Yeah. So a lot of times, then you're like, well, I don't really think that I'm X, Y, and Z, right? It'll tell you you're like, I'm an INFP. And I literally was like, am I really? So I took the test several times, right? And you can take it as many times as you want. But sometimes people are like, I don't really know if that's who I am, even though I believe that's exactly who you are. But I think some people are just a little bit nervous to admit their strengths and weaknesses. And I think being in your purpose is knowing that your weaknesses are actually the best thing about you. And so the second way is to look at who you wanted to be as a child. And that is really indicative of your personality. But what happens is when you say that who you want to be as a child, you say it to like your caretaker or your parents or whatever, and they're like, yeah, no, you can't. How do you think you're going to make a living being an artist? You're never going to make money doing that. Or you want to be a doctor? Why would you want to be a doctor? That's so expensive. Do you know how much school you're going to have to do?
Right.
And you're discouraged from being who you actually are as a child by your caretakers, because they believe that, you know, for whatever reason, they have their limiting beliefs against that. So you look at who you want to be as a child, and that is your personality coming through.
Okay, we have a quick question. Hold on, before you get to number 3. So if someone comes up, here's the question is INFP. If you came up as an INFP or whatever different one, are you always that, or do you think that evolves through your life as with different experiences?
You know, I don't think it's going to be like all of a sudden you're going to be an extrovert when as a child you were an introvert. At least in my experience, and the clients that I've had, they've always been introverts. I think that you can be an extroverted introvert, right? Like in certain situations, when I had my donut business, I had to be an extrovert in a lot of situations because I had to learn how to sell my own product. So I think, you know, there are variations and that it can change, but I think who you are is who you are.
Perfect. All right, great. Okay, number 3. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, sure. Number 3 is signs. What signs have been present throughout your life? A lot of times, you'll see these signs. You'll look back and you'll go, oh my gosh, that's why that happened. Oh, that's why, you know, I was kind of pointed in one direction. But I think in a lot of cases, people don't want to see those signs, or they're just not aware that the universe is trying to tell them to go one direction or another. So in my case, I wanted to be, I'll use the whole example. I wanted to be a psychologist as a kid, but I was discouraged from doing it because my dad was a psychology major, but he hated it. So he decided to do something else. And when I said I wanted to be a psychologist, he was like, yeah, no, I don't think that's for you. I don't think that's something you want to do. And so I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'll do something that's not even related to my personality. I'll go into marketing. But throughout my life, coaching it was super present, and I didn't even realize it. Like when I was in high school, I was a peer counselor. So I helped other students with their problems. And then when I was in my 20s, I was in marketing. So I was totally burned out. So I saw a career coach. She told me to be a psychologist as one of the options. And I didn't do it because I thought I should be in marketing. And then when I was doing my donuts, I saw a burnout coach my 4th year of business because I was so burned out. So I saw a burnout coach. And then this is the funniest part, while I was making my donuts, I would listen to podcasts about becoming a coach. I know.
So it was always there.
It's always been present throughout my life, but I just never, you know, a lot of times we just don't see those signs. We just don't see them for whatever reason. And we don't think that we can follow them because we don't maybe believe in ourselves, or maybe we just think, oh, no, everybody else told me I need to do X, Y, and Z. So you try to fit into a box that everybody wants you to fit into.
So Jenny, what would you tell people that really can't kind of get out of their own way? They're in a job they're not happy with, that they've been doing for 20 years, it pays the bills, but they're really inside, they're just not fulfilled. And instead of staying in that job where they feel safe and secure, how could you help people to say, you know what, you're hearing this today for a reason? What would you tell them?
I would say that you should listen to your intuition. That's so important. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, it's because your job doesn't fit your personality. Your purpose isn't your job, but it's who you are as a person, like I've been saying. And so I don't recommend that people just up and quit their job because we need to make a living. But I do recommend that they find the tools to find their purpose and then figure out how to work that into their lives.
So basically, you're not telling them, okay, quit your job tomorrow, whatever. You can ease into it, but the whole point of it is to really be happy in life. We only get one turnaround. So
Exactly.
you might as well, start to, I guess that's my point. When you interview someone and they're coming to you for help, like let's just say I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. It's like in more in detail is what I'm asking you. What should a person do if they know they're not happy with their job? They've got to stick with it. They can't fix it in 2 days. But what would be the first step for them to find that they can change? You can change from being in a donut business to that you were successful in, but to find your real purpose in doing something else. I guess that's what it's like. What gives somebody that drive to say, get out of your way? That's
I think it just depends if you've been searching for your purpose, or you've been looking for the next step in your life, or you've been wondering, is this it? Then you're probably, it's time to find your purpose. And I can definitely help you with that by, going through the 3 methods that I talked about, there's so many different ways to find your purpose. But I have a 90-minute purpose intensive where I work with my clients to figure out their purpose in 90 minutes. And then we figure out that next step. What is that? Living in your purpose is different for everyone. So I think that you just need to be encouraged to know that if you feel dissatisfied in your life, it's not you and it's not your fault. It's just that your personality doesn't match what you're doing.
I love that.
That's fantastic.
2 things, Jenny, that stand out to me. One is I think about courage, how it takes courage to step into that purpose, to step away from something that feels safe and to start dipping your toe or laying those bricks into something that really is in alignment with your essence and who you are.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that that's probably like high on that list, having that courage. But I also love that, yes, you spent all these years in marketing, but you probably are using that marketing and those techniques now every day. So it's like nothing's ever really wasted. Do you find that with the people that you work with, that your entire life, everything that you've done up until this point, that you can utilize that into creating this very purposeful life?
Yeah, I think so. I had a client who just couldn't find her purpose. She said she was crying the night before we met. And it was funny because we went through all of the, ways to find her purpose. And it was funny because she was actually already living in her purpose, but she just didn't know how to use the gifts that she already had. She didn't know how to share those gifts with the rest of the world. And she thought she was stuck in what she was doing. So yeah, it totally takes courage. And it takes just knowing that you're meant for something more. And if you have that feeling inside, then more than likely you are made for something more, right?
That's so great.
Right. You don't want to settle, and you want to have a legacy. And I think that's where that, that courage and that strength comes from.
I love it. Jenni, you have been so amazing. I feel like this is a topic that Shelley and I could go on and spend.
Yes.
I mean, heck, it's a big purpose, big reason why we do our show is to help people find that flow in their lives and to find that purpose. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your techniques. So you have this 90-minute intensive. That's like a first step for people. Where can people find you if they're interested in going through that with you and like really diving into that purpose? How can people reach you? What's the easiest way?
Yeah, the best way is to find me on Instagram. It's Find Your Purpose Project. So at Find Your Purpose Project. And yeah, you can find out more about me, and you can click the link, and we can set up a discovery call, and we can talk about, finding your purpose in 90 minutes.
Well, I hope you're going to come back. I really love the things that you had to say. So helpful for people. And like Eva said, that's our purpose, is to help others to find their way. And you're a perfect avenue for that. So please come back.
Thank you for being extroverted and coming on to a live podcast. I'm sure for you, you're like, okay, I'm going on live and I got to talk about that, but like, you're awesome. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Okay, but before we go,
yes.
Kristen was just saying, Jenni, I hear you. So you speak my language. Thank you. I will follow now.
Thank you.
I love it.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on our show. I just said coming back. See, you're meant to be coming back. I'm already foreseeing the future.
Well, thank you. I'd love to come back. Thank you so much for having me. It was so great to be on.
Oh, our pleasure. Okay, don't go anywhere. We want to say bye as soon as we end the show, but we're going to just say bye to our viewers out there. Thanks everyone for being here today and for listening to Jenni. You can find her on Instagram at Find Your Purpose Project. So go ahead and check her out. And we are going to have her back on our show so we can dive more into figuring out and living your purposeful life. I love you, best friend Jenni.
Love you. So hit the bell. Hit the bell.